Let's take a look at how to monitor systems from the System Availability Monitor. To get to SAM, log on to the Genetec portal and go to the Technical Assistance section. From the drop-down menu on the top left, choose Technical Assistance, then the System Availability Monitor. From the main dashboard of SAM, the top of the page gives you an overview of any systems with errors. The total number of systems with errors will be shown on the left, along with a list of the current systems with errors and how many roles and devices are in an error state. This number represents the total number of roles or devices, not the number of errors. One role or device may have multiple errors associated with it, which we'll see in the system details in a few minutes. Next to the total errors is the last time the information was updated. The right side of the dashboard displays a list of the total number of systems with errors for the last week. Hovering over a day in the chart will display the date and the number of systems with errors. Above the dashboard, our breadcrumb trail is displayed on the left, and the menu on the right next to the email address of the user who's logged in. The breadcrumb trail is an easy way to jump back to a previous section, such as the Technical Assistance section of the Genetec portal, or the dashboard once we're investigating errors for a specific system within SAM. From the menu, we can manually refresh the page or turn the auto refresh option on or off. By default, the auto refresh is turned on and will refresh the page every 5 minutes. Below the overview is the list of total systems that are associated with your account. On the top of the list, there's a search box to look for a specific system based on the client name or system ID, and a checkbox to filter the list to only display systems with errors. For each system, we can see the name of the client associated with the system ID, the last time the information for this system was updated, and the statistics for the directory servers, roles, and devices associated with that system. The numbers in each of these columns will tell you how many of each are currently up and functional, and how many there are in total. For a system to be perfectly functional at the moment, both numbers should be the same in each one of these 3 columns. Clicking on a column header will sort the list, first in descending order, then in ascending order, and finally back to unsorted. Sorting by the number of directories, roles, or devices will sort the total number of entities in an error state. For example, if a system has 100 devices and 25 are in an error state, it will appear higher on the list than a system with 200 devices that have 10 in an error state when sorting by descending order. To see more information on the status of a system, click anywhere in the line from the list of systems. The overview page on top will change to show the general information for this system. On the left, we have the last time the information was updated, as well as the name of the system ID, and the end user, integrator, and distributor of the system. In the center, we can see a graph of how long the directories were active in the last 7 days, as well as how many directories, roles, and devices are currently down on the system. The circle represents the number of entities that are down out of the total. Hovering over one of the circles will give you the exact number of entities down and the total number of entities. As we saw in the previous chart, hover over a day to show the exact date and the directory availability. In the entity list below, we can again filter the list using the search box, which will look for the string in any entity below, and restrict the list to only show entities that have errors. Next to the Errors Only checkbox, we can limit the time range we want to consider for our results. There are quick presets to use the previous day, week, or month, but we can also click on the calendar to select a custom date range. From the selection pop-up window, click on either the start or end date on top to choose which one to modify, and then choose a date below. Use the arrows next to the month and year to increase or decrease the value, and click on a day in the calendar below to select that date. Note that you cannot choose a date that's in the future. Hit OK when the start and end dates are correct, and the list of results will be updated. In the list of results, each category of entities, directories, roles, and devices will have a summary of the available statistics for all entities in that category. Click on the plus next to the category name to expand it, which will show all the individual entities. Click on the history bar to bring up a chart showing the number of errors over the time range selected. Hover over the chart to see the exact numbers for a date and time range. Click on the X on the top right of the chart to close it, or click on the history bar for that entity again. We can only see the history chart for the entity category in total. The individual history bars are visible from the expanded entity list, but not in chart format as we saw for the category. Looking at the statistics available, the first one is the percentage of uptime for the entity. This is the time the device was active, or uptime, divided by the total of the uptime and downtime. After the history bar, we have the individual numbers for the uptime and downtime for an entity. The last two columns display the MTBF, or mean time between failures, and the MTTR, or mean time to recovery. The MTBF is the average uptime for the entity between errors or downtime. MTTR is the average of how long the entity was down for, or how long it took to get the entity back into an online state. Clicking on the number in the errors column will bring up the errors pop-up window. Clicking on the number in the errors column for a specific entity will bring up the pop-up window with this entity in focus. Using the drop-down menus in the window, we can quick select a time range and choose the category of entities to view. Use the search field to find a specific entity, and use the column headers to sort the list by the entity name or the number of errors. With an entity selected, the list on the right will update with the errors applicable during the time frame selected above. If a role or device is already in an error state at the start of the time frame being used, it will also show up in the list even though the timestamp of the error is before the selected range. If available, the error message, source, and timestamp will be displayed for each one. The timestamps received from the SAM agents are in UTC, or the Coordinated Universal Time. The time being displayed here has been converted to the time zone of the local machine running the browser. For example, if an error comes up from a role on a server that is in the Pacific time zone, but the browser viewing the error in SAM is in the Eastern time zone, the timestamps on this page will be in Eastern time. This makes it easier for you to see how long ago an error occurred based on your current time. If needed, select a different entity or category on the left to see more information, or click on the X on the top right corner of the window to close it.